Yeah, man, we are live. Had a little echo going on there. All right. Well, welcome to Reality Check, man. And I'm going to play something real quick here tonight. Something real quick. Start off Thursday night reality.
You will never be good enough for the wrong person. So when people do not see your value, it's not about, I'm not good enough, I'm not this. No, they're not for you. And we've got to learn to accept that and not internalize rejection, not internalize the fact that this person cannot step up to the table and give us what we need. That's not their role in our life. Get them out the way.
Oh, yeah. That's what
man.
I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's deep right there. I found that yesterday. I think it was on Instagram. And it's kind of a deep statement. You know, we internalize things. And sometimes we just have to accept things. So tonight is accepting things you can't control. And the reason I said control, most of the time when you hear that statement, you think of accepting things you can't change. So you're probably wondering why I said control. Why, accepting things you can't control, because I think most things you can change. Okay. There's so many things that people accept and say, I can't change that, but you can't. That's just a fact. You can change things. Now, controlling things is a different story. I kind of want to get into, I guess the first thing is what are things you can and can't control? Those are the most important things. I think the first factors that we need to deal with. I hope everybody's following me so far. Again, control. I mean, let's think of the word control. Shift. Welcome, Shift. I want to welcome Shift, my awesome co-host tonight.
Yo. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, man. I love it when you co-host, man. Always valuable. So When you hear the word control, what comes to your mind? When I say accepting things you can't control.
Accepting things you can't control. It's like really things outside of yourself, like such as like other people's actions. You can't. Say like for the government, for instance, you can't do that. You can't control what they do also. But the biggest thing for me, it's like you always can analyze yourself and see what your strengths and weaknesses are, and also see like how you can control how you this is very profound, I guess. I guess you can control how you act in a way. Like, when someone pisses you off, right? You can choose to let that emotion like come out of you and you go full of rage, or you learn to internalize that emotion and just analyze, where is it coming from? Is it coming from my childhood traumas, or in a spiritual sense from like very esoteric philosophies? It's like it can get so deep where you see the other person, how they're pissing you off, and you see yourself. You see yourself and your actions, how you acted before. And it's like, you just I think the best thing is just to let it go. We can always change our perception of things, our attitudes, to try to be better. I always strive to be a better person each day, try to improve. I always try to challenge myself, like such as I always ask myself this question every day, or like every second. I try, if I can, am I conscious or not? And I fail constantly all the time when I ask that question, because I'm not, because I let sometimes my emotions take over, and that's okay, because each and every time it builds up that awareness, that acceptance, and also when I look at like market news and stuff, I see that there's more things I can't control, like countries fighting and people losing their homes and stuff. It's very daunting. It's very disturbing, and but I have to let it go. It's human nature. Humans love to fight, and we have all this potential to be really, humanity can just grow, but we still choose to live on primitive emotions, and we have to learn to accept that. We can't control the world, but we can at least try to within our surroundings, try to, improve ourselves and improve other people as much as we can. So.
Yeah, one of the things, it's funny, I'll go back to what you said. I have in my notes here, it says, you can't change how you feel, but about a situation or someone, but you can control how you interact or how you respond.
Yes.
I think that's really important. That's why I say accepting things you can't control. There's a lot of, everybody has, you could have anger, you could have sadness, you could have, think of all the emotions, happiness. I think a lot of times when we think of emotions, we think of negative things, but there's good emotions also.
Yeah.
You can have joy, you can have peace, all those things. And that also, you can't control those. You really can't. A lot of people say, we're in the manosphere, whatever, here, and under that umbrella. And, everybody tends to put up this bravado that they really don't have. Like, emotions are normal. Do I think that you should act on your emotions? No, as a man, we don't act on the emotions. We try not to. But we all fall short every now and then. And that's okay. So that's something that men have to realize. And, I want to talk to women about this too, because men and women are different on how they accept things in their lives. Okay, accept things that they can't control also. But I also think that statement can be a cop-out. Okay, you accept something, it's like accepting bad behavior. That's a cop-out.
It depends on what context it is. Like accepting that you failed the class. You failed the class. All right, and then you have to ask yourself, what is next? What's next? What is the opportunity cost of me being in a doomer mode? What is the opportunity cost? You got to view it as another failure, as a stepping stone to success, and it's just another opportunity for you to improve.
Yeah, I'm looking at Blackskin has a great comment here. He was in earlier, but the strongest person among men is not he who fights everyone, but is he who controls his anger.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great comment. Let me just say hi to everybody real quick here. We got Uncle Guns was in earlier. The Darkest Night, man. I'm gonna respond to some of your comments, bro, and we're gonna get you straight on that. We got Pastor Krabs. That's kind of funny.
What's up, Pastor Krabs?
Hold the Truth.
What's up, Hold?
Good to see you. Nixon Talks.
What's up, Nixon?
Peg Bell. Good to see you.
What's up, Peg?
Primal Man. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Primal Man.
Yeah, it's been a while, man. He's going to jump on, I think, here.
That's awesome. He always has some great tidbits, man.
Yeah. And then I got a comment here from Peg. She said it was hard seeing my boyfriend dying. I had no control over it.
Yeah.
I had to accept it. His burial was earlier this week. Oh, Peg, I'm sorry, man.
I remember back in 2011, me and my dad, I had to bury my uncle. It was, and even this year, another uncle passed away also. It's hard, and I could see it with my father. He had a hard time letting it go, man. It's just,
our thoughts and prayers go out to you, Peg.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers, Peg.
Yeah, for sure, and for you and his family, absolutely. So, just looking at the comments there. Blackskin, good to see you, man.
Yep.
Awesome. You're welcome to jump on. You got the link. So I'm going to drop the link pretty quick here tonight. So
cool.
Let's dive right back into it. Again, everybody, welcome. I want to go back to a comment here with this was posted earlier, and oh geez, these are tough to read from The Darkest Night. He said, men always feel like they are in control, so we'll make up things to make them feel in control when that isn't fully the case. Life is emotional and logical. I don't know how you want to respond to that shit, if you want to.
I mean, you have to learn to adapt or devolve, man. It is what it is. And there's some things we can't control, but, you just have to adapt to your circumstances. And everyone is different, and everyone has different life experiences. And I always tell, Darkest Night, I know how you feel. I know the nihilism. I know exactly how it feels. But all I have to say to you is listen to people that have a positive message, you know, and maybe one day it may change your perception. That's all I got to say to you, man. We can't do that for you, man. You have to realize within yourself that you have value. Every one of you have value that you could offer to this world, you know. And if you accept that, then honestly, there's no, you know, you should be, I don't think you fully accept it because you keep saying it over and over again. It's like you have to just, you know, do a death meditation. Let out those feelings, you know, and then you'll feel a lot better, you know. But that's all I got to say.
Yeah, I mean, I put a post trying to lift guys up. It was funny because there's a little meme that I made saying that, you know, there's 4 billion women in the world and you're worrying about just one. And that's, you know, that's to give guys a, you know, like, just lift them up a bit. Like, you know, I get the whole thing. I get it. You know, everybody's been there. I've been there. You've been there. Everybody's been in a down place when it comes to a woman. But, you know, when you look at the bright side, like I said, 4 billion women, you know, on the planet. So
yeah, there's not a one size fits all relationships. That's why I always say, like, dating, there's objective truths, but it's a subjective experience. It's different. It's different for everybody. It's different for every man and woman. You know, like there's even femcells. There's females that are incels. You know, like that exists also. You know, and you have to look at both sides of the coin and realize not everything is black and white. It's like, it's like there's no like absolute. I mean, it's your life, man, and you got to be careful who you listen to. You know.
You know, I was watching a video today that Blackskin had sent me, and it was talking about basically about control. And it was really good because, again, we're accepting things you can't control. There's things that you can't control. When I saw this video, like nervousness, okay, also a gut feeling. Okay, when you have a gut feeling about somebody, like accept it. Because a lot of times that's like an intuition. It's
instinct.
It's instinct.
Yeah.
And it's telling you something. It's primal. It's letting you know that something is wrong. Something is off.
Yes, you got to trust it. That's like I had that Bleach quote where that monster questioned the other person, like, what's the difference between a king and his horse? And really the king has the instinct to go in and, you know, in war to slaughter the enemy, you know, and to become stronger. And I wouldn't say, like, you know, obviously killing, that's obviously bad. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, you got to have that instinct. A lot of guys don't. I feel like nowadays they're lost. They don't develop. They don't trust their instincts, and they don't try to strive to be the best they can be. And nobody else can really do that for you. You got to do the work, man. You know, and just accept that failing is just a stepping stone. It's like you got to flip that perception. You got to realize if you had like no emotions towards failure, you might be a fucking gazillionaire at that point. You know.
Jay Neptune, if you don't like being lonely, it's the company you keep. Yeah, that's a good one, bro. Absolutely. Yeah, there are things like, you know, that's great that you brought that up, that like failure, sometimes you can't control it, but you got to accept it.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. Okay. It does. Accepting things you can't control it sounds nihilistic to some degree, but it's really not. I don't think it is.
It's a brutal reality, but to me, it's just, you know, I use nihilism as a tool, you know, and it's not good or bad. It just is. And you can let go and you feel free. When you feel free, then it's like the weight off your shoulders is, you know, you just feel like instead of a chicken, you're a fucking eagle. You're fucking soaring through the air. You're looking, you know, and do you want to stomp on people? Well, that's not going to get you far, you know. Or do you want to elevate people and just do it in your own style and way, you know, and realize that not everyone's going to like you, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're going to piss you off, you know, maybe their action or whatever, but you know, the best thing to do is just let it go. Let it go. And you can't please everybody, you know. Yeah,
there was something you had when we were chatting earlier, and I'll just a simple, I mean, it's really from like Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want, but you get what you need.
Yes.
And that's a brutal truth right there.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
When you sent me that, I'm like, man, that's Rolling Stones song. That's how I remember the quote.
You can't get what you get what you need. Oh yeah. And it's like a positive. It's a very, to me, it's very positive. It's like your subconscious will tell you what you need, and while your conscious mind is like, oh, I want this, I want that. Really, you don't want that. Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about controlling things. Right now, I'm in like full ketosis. We were talking about this backstage, and I'm accepting the fact I'm really trying to stay in control. Like, I'm dying for any kind of carbs. I'm going through a carb withdrawal for 3 days right now. I don't know if anybody's ever been through that, so you can, okay, one of the things you can control, if you're fat and out of shape, you can control that. You don't have to accept that. You can control. And if people say they can't, well, then you need to take the fork out of your mouth and the spoon.
The biggest thing is to find the trigger points of, like, say, for example, if you're that fat, you got to find your trigger points of what makes you eat often. A lot of it is emotional. It's like you're just pissed at yourself and you're angry at yourself. You got to find out why. Then you could change that trigger point and do something productive, read a book or go outside and walk. And all it takes is 90 days to change a habit, and if you do that and if you track it right in their journal, then you're making progress, man, even if it's small progress. It's fantastic. Slow and steady wins the race. Not, like the rabbit versus the tortoise. The rabbit is running. He gets tired. It got arrogant. While the turtle is like, nah, bro, I got this. And it fucking won. That's how it goes.
In my notes, too, I have something, again, accepting things you can't control. One of the things I have is your thoughts. Now, after I wrote that down, I started thinking about it. I know Jesse Lee Peterson says, one of the things he says is all thoughts are all lies all the time. The good thoughts, the bad thoughts are there to bring you down, and even the good thoughts are there to build you up, to tear you down. Yeah. And after I thought about that, when I wrote that, I'm like, man, I think he nailed that. But you can't control your thoughts. You have to accept those, and it's how you deal with them.
Yeah.
Think of a person. Think of a person that's having thoughts of like suicide. Think of that. How do you control that? You don't accept that. That's not something you have to accept. Okay. Yeah. That's not something you have to accept. But those thoughts, people have those thoughts, and that's brutal.
It's like I've seen it in medicine, and usually I caught like many of them, like when I was working in ER or like I was in a clinic, I would see that there's something wrong with this person. Like they're so sad, they're withdrawn. Instinctively, I look at their face, something's up, and I all I ask is like, what's going on? What's going on? Anything wrong with your family? What's going on? And then they spill out like a waterfall, because I actually try to give a shit. And then they realize I've been having these bad thoughts. And like, what type of bad thoughts? I'm thinking of killing myself. And I was like, oh, you can't leave, you need help, and I think like a lot of those guys that have those, those incel stuff, where they say cope or rope. Yeah. I'm like, I think that is, oh my God, like, why would you ever do that? Like, go get some professional help, man. Like, that's just fucked up.
That's why I always say, if somebody reaches out to you, man, like, give them support.
Yeah.
Somebody
Absolutely.
in the situation doesn't need advice. It can make things worse.
Like, for me, I've seen it with a couple, like, like, look, man, I think you really need help. How about I go to the clinic with you and, just give you support, stuff like that. Oh, it looks like Tony hit the wall.
Yeah, we got the wall back for sure. Good, Anthony Velasquez. Good to see you, bro. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, you should just jump on. It's been fun. He's always fun when he comes on.
Oh
So,
yeah, always, always.
yeah.
Yeah, so I did pin the link, so anybody that wants to jump on, come on, and we're gonna have a fairly short stream tonight, probably about 2 hours, but I wanted to open it up to everybody. So if you want to come on and talk about this again, accepting things you can't control, not things you can't change, but things you can't control. That's what
Mm-hmm.
the topic is, and I like that. Now, I think it was AJ Lifts had said something about the Serenity Prayer, and the Serenity Prayer is, I think it's God give me. I'm trying to think of it. I have it here. I'll probably screw it up, but let me kind of look in my notes here. The
Mm-hmm.
Serenity Prayer is written by the American theologian Reinhold Niebuhr. It's commonly quoted as Niebuhr's Prayer. Originally asked for courage first and specifically for changing things that must be changed, not things that simply can be changed. It goes, Father, give us courage to change what must be altered, serenity to accept what cannot be helped, and the insight to know the one from the other. And that was composed in 1932.
Wow. Very profound.
Yeah,
This is beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that's, when everybody, like, again, that's why I changed it from accept the things you can't accept things you can't control instead of accept things that you can't change. I kind of like that better because I
Yeah.
do think there's so many things that people look at. In other words, whether they're weak or they're just not in the right state of mind. I think people accept defeat easier. It's easier to accept defeat than it is to take on a challenge. And
Mm-hmm.
that's, I mean, we're living in a world that accepts defeat. We're living
Yeah.
in the United States of America that accepts defeat. Okay,
Yeah.
we say we can't control it, but you can. And I think people have just given up. It's
Yeah.
it's it's it's
It
it's
goes. It
not
goes.
to give up.
Yeah. A lot of it is just. It's easier. It's easier to be negative than positive.
Mm-hmm.
This is how it is. And even in some esoteric books that I read, it says like all negative emotions, like they're just imitations from other people that you learn from your parents or your basically your peers, and you pick up on those behaviors and you don't even realize it before it's too late. And that's why a lot of people are addicted to drama. They love to see that suspense and all that negativity, jealousy, envy, anger, people roasting and all that. And I'm like, that's not really real life. It's just in real life, if you try to roast someone, they're gonna they're gonna fight you, or even worse, they're gonna kill you. You there's certain things like you just can't do. And it is what it is. Especially in the online sphere, people think they're invincible, but in real life, they will never say that to the person. Never. It's just how even if they try to act tough, I'm like, dude, just look at like the Yugoslav war. Genocide. I lost 20 of my relatives. They were buried in the ditch. There were people starving and they were getting headshotted trying to cross. That's brutality. And people wish for war. Do you wish for that? Do you really want that? Do you really want that negativity? Do you want that brutalness right there? No, you don't. You do not. Like, when people say they want war, be careful what happens.
I want to welcome the long lost Anthony Velasquez, man.
Yo, what's up, Anthony?
What's going on, guys?
Oh man, it's great to have you on tonight. We got Michael Foster. I've always loved to have you on, man. So the link is pinned to the top. Jump on. We got Hold the Truth in here tonight. Yeah, everybody feels like coming on. Just feel free and come on, man.
What's up, Anthony? You took a break, man. You look good, man.
Oh, thank you. I feel exactly the same.
Nice.
I'm not sick. I'm not dead, so I'm good.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
So let me get your thoughts on accepting things you can't control. Now we're not
Oh my goodness.
accepting things you can't change, because I think most people take that as an out, and that's why I said accepting things you can't change or you can't control. I think a lot of times when we hear that phrase, accept things you can't change, that to me is a cop out. It's a cope a lot of times, and that's why I changed it to accepting things you can't control. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you can change a lot in your life, but in the last couple of years, society has made you feel like you can't change anything, like you're stuck, you know, and that's a real bad way to live your life. It's what most people live that way all the time. And but like I said, last couple of years they've really reinforced that. Like you can't change anything. You're stuck. You know, you're doomed. And they want you to feel like that. It's better for people who control you to let you feel like you're doomed. Well, I'm not doomed.
Well, Michael Foster said he heard you became a Protestant, so maybe that's
fuck that. If I did, I'd be doomed, man. Oh no. But you know, I will say, you know, people want me to sometimes defend what's going on in the Catholic Church, and I can't, because basically we have a Pope that's basically a Biden, and I know that's, how can that be? How could that be? And I don't understand it myself. I don't understand how you know, people could pray and seek divine knowledge and then elect someone who is compromised. But yet, you know, the average guy is I think if they take their faith seriously, they're solid, but the leadership is corrupt. Really corrupt.
That, I mean, to me, if you know, taking, you know, when you see a corrupt leadership, I mean, that's something that you can't accept. That you can't accept that.
No, I can't accept it. Yeah, they're gonna pay. These guys are way overstepped their line. They're gonna pay. They might not pay in this life, but they'll pay in the next life. They're gonna pay.
So what's your thoughts on what's something that would relate, like accepting something? What's something you can't control that you have to accept?
Oh, well, okay. So, you know, basically I'm Catholic, so I have to accept the Catholic leadership because I'm Catholic. I don't really have a choice about that. I mean, the rules of the religion still apply. You know, I can't change that. And you know, and then we have our current, like, economic conditions. I mean, it is what it is. I can't really, you know, I could change. Like I say, I still live in California. I could move, but you know, I know you in Florida. You guys still have inflation, and you have experiences that are similar to what we're going through.
I mean,
maybe not to, you know, not to extreme, but yeah.
For gas today, $4.69 a gallon is what I paid for gas today.
Right. Yeah, that's really, you know, that's probably really high for you. For me, I don't drive, so I don't pay anything for gas, but I pay in other ways. But I've chose not to drive for the last 6 years. So, and how is that even possible? I live in Southern California. How can I possibly not drive? And they tell you couldn't possibly survive and not drive in Southern California. But I've done it for 5 or 6 years. And it's just a choice. It's a choice I made. And so that's how I've made, you know, I've taken advantage of survive. It's a survival technique. But they tell you a lot of things. So they tell you can't defend yourself. They tell you can't think on your own. They tell you, you know, all this crap. And it's not true. If you try, you can just do whatever the hell you want to do. So that's what I've done. Instead of drive, I just fucking walk. Fuck it.
Healthier for you. A good choice.
Healthier. Yeah. Healthier what?
It's healthier for you. You're walking instead of, you know. Yeah, no big deal.
I got fucking legs still.
Yeah.
I haven't cut them off yet.
Some people get like electric bikes and stuff, you know. It is what it is. Yeah.
I got electric feet.
I want to welcome Michael Foster. Good to see you.
Hey, Michael. How's it going?
What's up, guys?
Yeah. And
welcome to the family, Anthony. Glad to hear you converted. About time. I knew it happened. I knew you'd see
No.
it. I knew that communist pinko of a pope would push you over the edge.
No, he's pushing, but no, I'm still there. But yeah,
I
you're right.
got
Hey,
some really, really, really tight Roman Catholic friends. We argue back and forth. They're good people. They hate this pope. They're just gritting their teeth and doing what they can. But anyway,
he's
I want to bring on. I got to bring on somebody real quick. I just want to put up a shield just to make sure that it's him. Caduceus, is this you?
Yeah, you're gonna need a bigger shield than that for me, though.
Okay. All right. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yo.
All right. Let's go back to Michael Foster. Again, welcome, Caduceus. Good to have you as always.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on this? Michael Foster. We always hear the is that it's good to be a man coffee cup?
it is. I owe Patreon subscribers so much.
Oh,
nice. I'm like the least administrative person that's ever lived. So tomorrow, I got a bunch of podcast interviews, doing a Red Man group tomorrow, a few other things.
Mm-hmm.
But in between that, I'm going to come home and send all this stuff off so I don't feel like a terrible person.
Good. Now, we always hear accepting the things you can't change. I changed it to accepting things you can't control. So, because what I think is a lot of people can change things and they choose not to. They kind of use that as a cop out. So, what do you think of accepting? What is something that you have to accept that you can't control?
I think the reason we don't like the saying is the subtext, right? There's always a subtext. Mm-hmm. So the subtext is really about when we hear accept the things you can't change, it does seem to sound passive, right? In other words, like, well, you can't do anything, so what can you do? Mm-hmm. And that as men, we don't want to hear that. We're like, look, we know there's a bunch of things we can't do, right? But we're interested in the things we can do. So some things out of my control. Who's president? It's out of my control. Mm-hmm. Most things that happen at a federal level are out of my control. What happens in the war in Ukraine is out of my control. Tariffs are out of my control. There's a lot of things outside of my control. And that's one reason, I always tell people county before country. Not because you can't, most of us just don't have the influence, the ability, the connections, the money, whatever, to do anything bigger than our county. And so I just always tell people control the controllables. The things that you can take control on, control them, but there's all sorts of things outside of our control. Like I cannot control how other people feel, but I can control how I feel or how I react. I can control the things I say. So I tell my sons, look, you're responsible for your feelings and for your behavior. You're responsible for all of them. Okay. And you get angry, that's your fault. You whine, that's your fault. You have to own it. Like that's you. And I really feel like where we're screwing up with raising our boys is not teaching them that they can control their emotions. I do think we're producing school shooters by telling them that they should just always cry and feel free with their emotions. Men are dangerous when we're told to feel free with their emotions. We need to be told you need to aim your emotions, cultivate them for good, and not be a slave to them. So there's a lot of things that we have control over that people don't talk about, like our emotions being one of them. And a lot of times you see this in kind of feminist literature where they talk about being stoic as evil or something wrong, But no, I think being stoic, steady, temperate, that's a good thing. Those are some things that we have control over that people don't like to talk about.
But steady, I like what you said about steady because steady is important. But, I try to let men and women know that you do fall back occasionally, and that's okay. And when you fall back, try not to blame yourself. Other people will blame you, but don't blame yourself because you are human. That's what happens. Falling back is a part of life. You should use it as a learning experience. Also, I think we give women, again, I'm talking about men and women tonight. We give women too many outs nowadays. Okay. Like we have thought culture, pickup culture, um, um, just the whole hookup culture. You know, it's okay. A woman can say, okay, I can sleep with, you know, 3 guys in 3 months, but I've been divorced. You know, I've been married for this long and I deserve this. You know, I did this when I was in, you know, I was a good girl when I was in college. I got married early. So now I'm going to go out and just screw my brains out. That's something that you can control. That is not in, I don't think it's healthy. And I think, I think part of the manosphere, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, screwing women, but then we also, on the other hand, we're talking about you want a good girl. So
it's kind of hard to have it both ways, isn't it?
It really, really is.
You're taking the good girls out of the world, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think what we need is personal responsibility. None of this stuff, you know, Jocko Willink says it well, simple but not easy. Right? A lot of the stuff we have to say is pretty simple truth. It is not easy to apply. And someone asked me, what's the key to becoming a man? And I said, you know, I guess if we're going to boil it down to one thing, it's the ability to take responsibility for yourself. Right? It probably is it. If I was like gun to my head, that's probably my answer. And then out of that, it's your ability to take responsibility for others, wife, children, manage different organizations, whatever. With the women, what is so disgusting in modern women is how they are not responsible for any of their actions, and therefore they should be shielded from the consequence of their actions. And that is disgusting, right? Those are actually, you could have controlled this. These outcomes are your fault. And I think a lot of people would be willing. I think a lot of men would shield a woman from the outcome, her negative outcomes, if she would say, "This is my fault. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Help me." But it's always like, someone else did this to me. I didn't know. I got tricked. He was a bad guy. He was abusive. Yada yada yada. You know, sometimes that's true. A lot of times it's just excuses. You know.
I mean, in my, you know, being still in the dating world that I'm in, I noticed that women do out themselves. They don't realize what they say. You know, they could say, well, I don't do that, or I'm not a slut. But in reality, your words and what you have said to me says the exact opposite. I mean, that's just what I've picked up in the dating world. I think they have this, they kind of have this mindset now where they're like a man, and they're not. People look at men, and men look at women different. They really do. You know, men and women. People in general look at people in general with any type of moral kind of high ground will look at men and women different. But I do notice, and maybe Caduceus could probably jump in on this, that women do give themselves up. They don't understand what they've said to somebody, you know? And it's like, I could say, you actually said that to me. You've told me.
I would say I would expand that to people in general. A lot of people tell on themselves. I think it's a lot easier to tell the truth than it is to maintain a lie. So if you're lying consistently, it will come out one day, as long as you're paying attention and listening. That's just kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I think thought culture and slut culture is in full swing right now, way more than I've ever seen it in my life.
Do you think there's a pushback, Tony? I feel like there is a pushback.
There is some, but I think it's just been normalized so much.
It just seems like this is getting so nuts, and the consequences are getting so obvious that, I mean, I think you can tell, like with Ricky Gervais, Dave Chappelle, some of these comedians, they're the bolder of the comedians, to be clear. They are the ones that were always the risk takers to begin with. But they're starting to push back hard on woke culture and all the trampiness. They're starting to push back hard. And I think that's a sign where people are just like, you know, they went past the level of BS that people can take. Now, I'm not saying it's like we're going to swing back hard to some sort of trad revival. Don't misunderstand me. It does seem though like there is more of a conversation with like, what's her name, Amber Heard, Will Smith's Jada Pinkett, where just kind of the fact that women have the potential to be evil as well and are liars, can be liars as well, is really starting to come out. And I'm seeing a healthy pushback. I don't know how long it's going to last. It could be momentary. It could just be a cultural moment that doesn't last. But it does feel like there's people.
I mean, there's a talk show that I host that I couldn't stand, and I couldn't watch him for years. And I have HBO, but Bill Maher. But let me tell you, Bill Maher has taken quite a turn. I don't know if anybody.
I have seen that. That's crazy. Who knew?
Yeah, and who would have thought? Now I think he would be considered your real like liberal 50, 60 years ago. I don't think he's considered that really. He's one who I can tell is sick of woke culture.
What's the other guy, that British guy that interviewed Anthony? Pierce
Morgan.
Pierce Morgan seems like he's pushing back too.
Yeah, he is.
You're like, these guys are not, I think they're just older school guys. You're like, what are we talking about? This is insane. Where like they were willing to carry liberal water for a while, but it has gotten to such an extent at this point where there's people that just have to decide if they're allowed to joke about. I think what comedians don't like is they want to joke about the very thing you're not supposed to joke about. And when you tell them you can't joke about it, that drives them freaking nuts. The gag reflex. I don't know. I do think there is a something going on right now. I think a lot of things are in place still.
Yeah, I mean, accepting things you can't control. What would you say? I'm going to go to Caduceus on this one. What is one thing do you think that's important that people can't control that they have to accept?
On this topic in general out there, if I think about it, there's a lot of outcomes I cannot control. But there are, like you said, there's a lot of things that you can change. I can't control whether I die today. I can decrease the likelihood of that happening through a lot of my actions, but I can't control that. Like some freak accident can come and kill me any moment, but I don't control that. But I can decrease the likelihood, not be all reckless, don't be a degenerate, that kind of thing. So if you reflect upon your life, there's a lot of things you can't control, but I like what Michael was saying about responsibility, because if you reflect back on your day, even though there's a lot of curveballs thrown at you that you don't control, if you look at it in the lens, like what could I have done different to have a better outcome, it helps. If you ever end up in a hole, you feel empowered to get yourself out and go work towards what you're building in your life. Because if you see it as like, I got myself in this hole, that means you can get yourself out. And that's a big issue with a lot of these people. They blame everyone else to the point where they feel like they're in a pit that they can't get out because everyone else put them in there. They didn't put themselves in. So they can't really map out how to turn around their lives.
Yeah. So what do you think about, like I said, accepting things you can't change? To me, it's become, to me, that's more of a cope.
And in what way is that more of a cope? Because I think you can make a bigger cope about accepting things you can't control, because there's a lot of things. I think there's way more things I can't control than I think
people
change.
Okay, let me rephrase that. Let me context it anyways, but a lot of people use that as a cope. Let's put it that way. Not that it is a cope. They use it as a cope. In other words, I can't change it, so I'm just going to accept it. Just like if somebody's fat, I can't change it, I'm going to accept it. Just like a woman sleeping around, I can't change it, I'm going to accept it.
Yeah, my take when I hear about that, I was like, are you sure? Are you sure you can't change it? Are you sure? what have you done to prove that you can't change it? Have you tried this, this, and this? Of course, like, you got to give support and not advice on how they can get out of it. Maybe give some suggestions that other people have succeeded with this and that. I don't know. It's just that if you got to break it down to the point where they haven't tried everything and they haven't scientifically come to that conclusion that I can't change that, because there's countless examples that they can.
One of the biggest things that men and women you can't control is, and I'll go to Michael Foster or Shift or Anthony on this, is that just a simple, men and women are different.
Yeah, you have a nature. You got a God-given nature, and you can't. I mean, I don't know what you mean by control. You can't deny it. You can definitely embrace what God's made you to be, and we get into trouble when we don't embrace what God's made us to be, and we fight against it, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of women that says, "Oh, I want to find my equal partner. We're equal. We're equal." No, we're not equal. I'm more logical and rational, and you're emotional, but you're also more nurturing, and you take care of the children. Is this how it is? You know?
Yeah. Well, the way I see it is, if I'm an equal in a relationship, there's no point of the relationship.
Yeah, like there's always going to be an alpha.
I would just live solo. If it was just going to be another me that does everything I'm already doing, I don't need that, because I'm here.
Exactly.
I'm looking for a different role.
I think when we talk about equality, what's key is to distinguish equality from androgyny. We're not saying that men and women are interchangeable. I do believe that men and women are equal in a sense, but equal doesn't mean the same, right? So, for example, if you are a ensign on a ship and not the captain, we talk about basic humanity. The ensign and the captain are equal, but they have different rank, right? And so we can have different rank, and we can be equal. Who's more important, the quarterback or the center? Well, they're both important. They absolutely have different roles. You know, that quarterback hides behind that center quite a bit, and that center is guarding what without a quarterback, right? And so I would say what we have to understand is that the idea that we do complement one another, we fulfill one another, but we're not redundant. So I think a lot of guys, this is the problem I run with guys and women, is that men and women have different communication patterns and goals. And guys get mad that women don't talk like guys. But seriously, she's a woman. She's going to talk like a woman. She's going to talk. She's going to share lots of side stories to enrich the conversation, to paint a picture of her experience. You as a man are going to think all those side stories don't matter, because all you want to know is the punchline of what you're supposed to hear from the story, or what you're supposed to do, whatever. And she's not going to get to the punchline forever, and it's going to drive you freaking nuts. But that's not her purpose. Her goal in communicating is to share her life and to build a relationship, and she has all this backstory she fills in. Where with guys, you know, one of our goals is to communicate as efficiently as possible, and that is not a feminine goal often.
Yeah. Well, Are you continuing, Michael? Because I have a thought.
No, go ahead. I'd like to hear what you have to say, please.
Yeah, I don't really care about equality when it comes to a relationship. I care that we're just both raising each other up, making each other better. I don't care if, like, I bring 10x the value she brings, or vice versa. As long as we're both getting better is the main point that I care about in this scenario. So it's the equality isn't the main point of your relationship. But I see your point with humanity. We're all beings on this earth. We all share the plight of humanity, like whether it's good or bad, or a good thing or a bad thing. So I could see your point there.
And we're not equal in some ways. Like I am blown away by women's ability to have kids scream at them, over and over again, right? Scream at them, and them not kill the kids. Like Like my wife can deal with so much noise and racket for my kids, and I don't know how she does it. And she's patient with them, and she's nurturing and loving. And I have a masculine nurture. I give my kids. I nurture my kids. I love my kids. I die for my kids. But we're just different. And she's better. She obviously can have babies. I can't have babies. She's superior to me in ways, but I'm superior to her in ways as well, and I'm not ashamed of it. You know, if there's a bump in the night, why would I send Emily? She'll just kill her. I'll go take care of it.
It's
right?
like you enhance each other in a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's why I hate that word settle down. Why not settle up? You know?
Michael, I hate to correct you, but according to U.S. Congress, you can have a baby. I'm sorry.
Oh
Man,
my God!
Thank you so much. I'm sorry. I got to keep my facts straight. They change.
Yeah. If you do give birth, it will come out of your penis.
Hey, get that womb ready, Michael.
Oh man!
I gotta tell you someone. I told someone that when I read about that midwifery group out there in England saying that you could give birth through your penis, I say finally we can tell women that they don't know how painful birth is.
Yeah.
Because a freaking kidney stone is the size of a tiny pebble. I just feel like, you know what? Kill me. Just kill me right now.
Yeah.
Cut the baby out, man.
Yeah.
Crazy times, guys. Crazy times.
You call your kid Caesar.
You know, it's funny. Nixon has a comment here. What does he say? Settle up could be hypergamy for women, though. I don't know what you think about that shit.
I mean, it depends on the woman, you know? There's some women that, honestly, they'll take that as like, I'm a gold digger and I'm going to get the best man, the richest man possible. And then there's like the women that are really good. They're virgins. Their family, you know, they're traditional and all that. And they want to just find a guy that's also wants to have a family and, you know, build a legacy and all that. It really depends on the person. You know, it really depends on the woman, you know? It's like, there's no like definitive answer, you know, and
I would say it depends on how in tune with her goals she is.
Yeah.
It depends. Like here's the thing: like if she was after the motherhood of their kid, like you got. I think we talk about enhancing each other's life. Like she has to, with the hypergamy thing, she has to be honest with herself and realize, okay, can I enhance this guy's life as much as someone else can?
It depends on the culture, because women that age, they don't think shit. They don't know anything. They don't know shit. If you're asking a woman to decide culture, you're fucked.
Well, I don't think that was the idea of it. I was just saying, like, if a woman wants to go for that, like that's
women don't know what they want. Women don't know what they want. Women have no idea. You could ask a 40-year-old woman, she doesn't know shit. If you're dependent on women to decide culture. If we're gonna let women decide culture, I don't give a fuck. They could be a 60-year-old. They're gonna fuck everything up. They have no idea.
Yeah, well,
if you don't know that by now, you don't know shit.
I agree.
You don't know
goddamn
thing.
I agree with you.
You don't know a fucking thing.
That, like,
I'm sorry, but you don't know a fucking thing.
Can I ask one question, Anthony? I'm just curious. Can I ask one question about that?
Sure.
Does that apply to the Virgin Mary?
Well, the Virgin Mary took the Lord's advice, so she just went with his advice.
So let me ask you guys a question. Are you guys agreeing or agree to disagree? Because I got something I got to play here that somebody sent me, and it's just now I know why I can't stand that saying.
I know I can't agree.
I don't even know if we're like agreeing or disagreeing because I haven't even fully articulated what I was trying to say.
Well, let's just see this real quick because it's real quick.
If anyone has a disagreement with each other, you can agree to disagree.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, somebody said that to me, so I thought that was kind of funny. Now I know why I despise that statement, agree to disagree. We can just disagree. We're men. Obviously, a man doesn't believe that, so you know. So it's just
I don't know if you guys know that, but if you're waiting for women to organize the world and fix everything, you're fucked, big time. Yeah. I don't give a fuck how old she is. It's not.
We're not talking about that.
I don't think anyone said that.
Well, I'm just saying, but just in general, dude. Just in general. to save society. Yeah, what she's gonna decide? Once you say when she's gonna decide, it's already fucked up, dude. You're already on the fucking
I'm just
losing
saying
end
I
of that
can't
shit.
control how she thinks and acts and that kind of way.
I guarantee that's the truth. Well, you can't. Maybe you can. Maybe your father can. I don't know. But someone better fucking take a hold of her, because I guarantee you, everything's gonna be all fucked.
I was saying the buyer beware
this is
thing. I was pretty much saying buyer beware if she wants to do the hypergamy thing and go after.
Actually, this society is
like
this
the real
society
truth
is
she probably can't compete with other people and enhancing the guy's life that she wants. That's the harsh reality of it. That's what I'm just saying. It's a buyer beware thing.
What is a black skin?
Well, I want to welcome Blackskin. Blackskin, good to have you here, my brother.
What's up, brother? Blackskin is me, Michael Foster. What is a Michael Foster? Really? What are we talking about?
I'm curious.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, well, nice to meet you too.
He showed his DNA results, and he is accurately a Blackskin.
Yeah, I got some Mexican DNA and some African, Spanish blood, all this, a lot going on. So that's why some call me the Blackskin.
You should be a good boxer.
That's what's going on.
Mexican and black blood, you should be able to kick some butt.
Yeah, man. In the mental arena and also in the physical. For sure.
Sounds like the Hilltop Mall to me.
Hilltop Mall, Richmond.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad to have you here, because we had done some chatting earlier in private chat, and we talked about control, and again, I had talked about the video you had sent me earlier, and so what are your thoughts about accepting things? And you are into, I guess we would call it astrology. So when we talk about control, this might upset my Michael Foster or Anthony, my resident Catholic, but I've been looking into astrology and kind of seeing what's up with it, and I'm a little surprised on how accurate it is. As far as
goofballs are everywhere, dude. Don't worry about it.
Things everywhere. You know what I mean? Everything that's like. Notice there's been a lot of alignment.
Tony, here's the thing. Like, millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. That's a fact. They do actually use it. I know traders that actually use astrology, actually, and they actually make a shit ton of money. So I mean, it's all data. It's how you interpret it, and I don't know. If you're doing daily horoscopes, yeah, okay. But if you're like looking at your birth chart and looking at a different point of view, and just like, oh, okay, that looks okay, that looks interesting, but that's about it. It's just data.
I just noticed, what I've noticed is similarities in personality types. People that are in the same birth area that I am. Even like I said, where I was working yesterday, it was funny to come across somebody that had the exact same birthday that I have. It's been many, many years since I have found somebody with the same birthday, and we had a lot of the same qualities. Same thing with you, Blackskin. We have a lot of the same qualities.
You're born a couple days apart. That's right.
Yeah. So when it comes to control, again, that video you sent me today about control, it really told me a lot about myself, on how I'm perceptive on people controlling me. And I think I'm persuasive on controlling people. So.
Yeah, it's definitely either way. It's an issue. It's something that we identify with people. You can say people born around the time we are, and just to get the foundation laid. I use astrology as a language to talk. It's not the end all be all to me. However, I've seen a lot of anecdotal evidence that kind of adds up. Because in the end, I think, in my opinion, the Most High gave us free will, and that's going to play through in life. However, using astrology can be one mode that you can use to kind of talk about the differences in the things that are similar in one's personality. So,
what? I think that only works if you smoke out every day. Do you smoke out every day? Okay, there you go.
Not anymore, do you?
Yeah.
Do you?
Oh no, I never did.
You drink though, right?
I'm not. Yeah, if I drink, yeah.
You're drinking right now, yeah. Okay, so
Yeah, I'm drinking right now.
cool.
But I never smoked
Yeah,
out. I don't know why.
so
Think I should smoke out more?
I don't
Think
know,
I
man.
should
You're
smoke
living the
out more?
dream. You're from Cali, dog. I don't know, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Up
Is
to you.
it the dream? Is it really the dream you want to live?
I don't know, man.
You want to live my dream?
Nah, I wish you just like simmer down and relax for a second so I can answer
Really?
Tony's question.
I
Yeah, man.
bet he didn't ask me a question. You did.
He asked me a question, dog.
I asked asking a question.
I thought you said
Chill
you
out,
asked me
bro.
a question. All right,
No,
sure,
man.
bro. There's a dream, brother.
Good. Yeah. Excellent. So, the one thing about control, dog, Tony, I've noticed that is you gotta what's that? Yeah. Is that right? Okay. Okay, we're gonna do this one more time. All right. So control, dog. What's up with this guy, Tony?
Anthony,
you know what I mean? Can you mute him for a second?
Anthony, just chill for a sec. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tony. No, well, the thing about control is like I've noticed in my life. Takes one to know one, Deuce. No, I love you, dog. In order to, you got to know yourself, what the things you can't change in yourself, before you can accept things that you can't change in others. That's what I think, anyway. Mm-hmm. And once you know that, you go from there, man, and you work on the things that you can change in your own life, and like the things you can't. It is what it is. Think of a plan.
Where's your
go
picture?
From there.
Come on.
And your mom's phone.
Anthony, come on.
Come on, man. It's ridiculous.
That would be a really technological
blood.
My mom died 4 years ago.
Oh man, she got some relief from you then, dude. You're spitting all. I come on this stream, and you're spitting all over the place.
That's good.
You're literally spitting all over the camera, dog. It's like you're degenerate, and you need to just relax and have some civilization.
I am a degenerate.
This is what I'm talking about, bro. This is exactly a talking point of this.
I'm the
broadcast.
Bad guy. Am I the bad guy?
No, you're just a degenerate. The way you present yourself.
I am a degenerate.
I don't even know you, and
you don't know me.
And yeah, and you can't change that.
I can't change that, man. I don't want to change that. I don't want to know you.
Just show yourself, bro. Show yourself, man.
Here I am.
Anthony, we're
having
you are. A conversation, man. Don't take anything personal here, okay?
I don't take anything personal. Okay. This guy doesn't even have a face. He's a goofball.
Come on. We're not doing.
I'm sorry.
We're not.
You're not a real goofball.
It's all right. Just let it go, bro. Let it go. Everything's cool.
So. The funny thing is that people wouldn't talk to you like this in person. That's the thing about this internet thing.
No, you wouldn't talk to me like this in person. You would be scared. You wouldn't be talking to me like this person. You'd be scared. So you just stay wherever the hell you are.
Yeah, Anthony, come on.
We got to pull up here.
Nah, man.
Yeah, he's acting like the hood.
He's never serious.
I'll tell you where I live if you want.
No, you
always come and visit.
You already know. That's all right. Go ahead.
You know what, man? This is it, man. You can't change things, so it is what it is, man.
Look,
people are lonely and they need to express themselves.
Here's the thing, also 90%. That, like I always said, 90% in the stock market, people have a secret desire to lose syndrome. They just love to be in misery and negativity, and that's why they fucking lose. You know, they don't take the necessary actions to win. They don't look at and analyze themselves. They don't analyze the crowd, and that's why they always lose over and over again. They don't learn their lessons, and they blame others. They don't take accountability, and it is what it is, you know. And even sometimes when you trying to have a discussion, when you notice once the name calling starts, the discussion is over. It's like it's already been done. So it's like, you know, it is what it is.
Hey man, it's all good, brother Schiff.
Yeah, I mean, things again. You know, we're accepting. I'm accepting things I can't control right now.
Yep.
And I'm doing my absolute best. You know what I mean?
You're accepting goofballs. I
love everybody on the panel, and So we're gonna continue on. I know, you know, Anthony's a regular here, and he is polarizing. I'm going to give him that.
Polarizing,
and that's a part.
And that's cool that you're from California, because I'm going to be out there soon too. So
well, come on down. I'd love to meet you.
You know what's interesting about Anthony? It tests your patience. You know, it's like a spiritual test. It's like if you could pass through Anthony, then you win.
California party in July. You could do that.
That's great. Let's see.
Yeah, man, come to DP. Come to the Deep O.
DP.
The Deep O, bro.
What's that? What's the DP? Is that
I think
Home
Anthony's
Depot?
Southern.
The fuck is that?
Blackskin, can I ask you a couple questions? Maybe.
Sure, man.
Sweet.
What's up?
Tell me a little bit. I don't know much about your work on astrology or your thoughts on it. I'd love to hear a little more. I'd love to hear a little more.
I mean, nothing too deep. It's just another way of talking about the personality. You know, the ancients used to use it. They even talk about it in the Torah a lot, in the Old Testament. It's not for everyone, for sure, but it's a way to talk about different personalities and, like, you know, certain traits that you see coming up time and time again, archetypes. They didn't have back in the day. They didn't have psychologists and doctors to do that type of stuff. So, you know, they used what they had.
What goofy sign are you?
Let me ask you. I'll keep this conversation on the rails. So I also heard you mention something about the creator or God. So you believe that the order of the universe is tied to a creator? Yeah.
There's a hierarchy in everywhere you look, man. You got a father, you know, you got a grandfather. You most probably have a divine creator of this universe we live in.
Amen. 100% agree.
Yeah, I mean, what I've found out about it is, like I said, when I kind of really, I'll say over a month ago, because we're having a stream on Caduceus's channel here. I think it's next week, but basically the girl's doing all our natal charts, and I don't know much about that.
What charts?
Natal charts. I don't know much about it either. I don't know much about it either, but we're having it on Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, so yeah, it's going to be good.
It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, Michael Foster, you got to join.
Yeah, we could get Michael Foster's birthday in there.
Uncle Guns' birth chart.
My sign is Velociraptor.
Hey,
I don't have a chart. I was not born of woman. I was created in a goddamn naval laboratory.
I like what Uncle Guns is always told him, like, I'm a water sign, I met an earth sign, we made mud.
Here's the truth. I'll tell you. It's funny. I'm preaching on something to this effect in the Sunday. So when God made the stars and He made the planets, He gave the purpose for them in Genesis chapter 1. They say it's for seasons. So people think about that in terms of like fall, winter, spring. But that's not what it's talking about. It's talking about liturgical. It's talking about worship, celebration, order. So the stars set our calendar, right? They tell us when we're going to celebrate this thing or that thing, and that's part of their purpose. Their purpose is to actually operate as a visual calendar system that tells us it's time to celebrate XYZ, right? So the whole universe exists on a routine, on a cycle. Even the week does, right? Monday through Sunday. You've got 6 days of work, 1 day of rest. Each day is its own Sabbath. You work the day, then you go into rest. Everything exists on a series of cycles, of patterns, of routines. This is God's design of all things. So I don't question that there's significance attached to the stars. I don't know how you could read the scripture and say otherwise. You know, I can't. I don't know that I buy into astrology as being as determinative as people claim it is. And I do find all the the obsession with it, if I'm going to be honest, to be feminine. And it does seem to be very popular with women. Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, astrology, because I think it makes people, ironically, in the context of this conversation, feel in control. If they know what label belongs to a person, they're number 8. They're an INTJ. They're a Virgo. They know what they are. They know how to interact with them and exist as a way to mitigate conflict and know the right way to talk to them. And that's been the pattern I've seen as I've looked at different ways of summing up personalities, whether you're using Jungian archetypes, or ancient astrology, or Enneagram, which is an old thing that's kind of has this new push into it, or something like Myers-Briggs, which was created by a nutso woman that people seem to forget. That's who came up with the whole thing. So it strikes me as a way to avoid, maybe avoid's the wrong word, mitigate conflict by understanding the types of people in the world. And that's what I've been thinking about. That's not more of me being like an apologetic, like a straight on attack, more of just reflecting as I've interacted with the topic and thought about, because Enneagram is way big right now. Blacks, can you know what that is? I kind of think you probably do.
What is that, personality category?
It's like this chart, and it's a series of numbers 1 through 8 that they use to sum up personality types and how they interact with each other. And if you read the chart, you're like, yeah, I know people like that. I know people that kind of fall into that, and and there is like a lot to it that you think. It's not unlike the Myers-Briggs, which exists on the spectrum of extrovert versus introvert, thinking versus intuitive, et cetera, right? And there's like there's truth to it, but I always wonder, like, why are people drawn to it? Like, I'm not drawn to any of that stuff at all, but a lot of my friends who I like and I trust and I love are drawn to one version or another of this sort of device, whatever. Anyway, go ahead.
Good point. You bring up good points. I can't really disagree with a lot of what you said. I think because maybe nowadays there's so much uncertainty, so people cling on to what they think they can control. And I guess some people are obsessed with astrology. At one time I was really into it. Then I had to take a step back and realize the fact that, if it is, in my opinion, a synopsis of one's personality on default, the personality is not everything. What's behind the personality? What's the mask behind? What's behind the mask of the person? Persona means mask, right? The Greeks used to use that word. So what's behind that? Is it a soul? Is it what? So I think as long as one doesn't get obsessed with it, it can be an interesting tool you can use, but you shouldn't make it your end all be all, in my opinion.
Yeah,
bridge the gap here.
Yeah, the first time, when we had talked about this probably a month and a half ago, it was funny because I know I had mentioned to you, I'd mentioned to Caduceus that I thought it was like it's like mostly women that deal with astrology. And I agree with
it is women.
Michael Fonson. But then
women. It's mostly women. You're right, Tony. It is mostly women. Anyways, I gotta get to fucking work, brother. I can't hang on with these goofballs, man.
Sorry. Yeah, the big boys are talking.
Boom.
The big boys are talking. It's kind of hard.
Okay, I gotta leave. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Come visit me, motherfucker. See you in a while.
What are you? Are you a homosexual or something? You want me to visit?
Fight me, bro.
Oh yeah.
Fight me.
I'm good.
Internet
I'm good,
tough
bro.
guy.
Yeah.
I'm good, bro.
Oh yeah, dude.
I'm good, bro. I'm good, man.
Okay.
I'm good.
You really have to head out, Anthony?
Yeah, I do. I gotta go to work. I gotta support this motherfucker.
Hey,
this idiot, wherever the fuck you live.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, keep working, man.
Yeah,
you gotta feed the taxes.
I gotta keep working, brother. Gotta
pay
the taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, high taxes, man. Enjoy it.
Come visit me, brother.
I appreciate.
Okay, homosexual.
Hey, so your drink is the Lagunitas IPA, right? So when we're at the bar.
My drink is fucking paying taxes, so go fuck yourself.
Okay.
Okay, degenerate.
Yeah, I'm gonna move on.
You're right. I'm I'm a degenerate. I'm a homosexual too, right?
G-Unit.
What else am I? What else am I, brother?
Come on, bro. Clean yourself up, man. Come with me when you're sober, dog.
With
You're sloppy. You're sloppy, bro. You're sloppy. No. You're sloppy, bro. You're sloppy, bro.
You're sloppy, brother.
You're sloppy, brother. Yeah, I sure am. Okay, that's enough. Hey, man, Tony, you got me revved up, so.
It's all right, man.
Yo.
We're heading in a positive direction. Anthony, good talking to you, man. Always talk to you next go around, okay? And when I'm in California, we'll get together. We'll hang out. It'll be good.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
Yeah, have a good one, man.
Have a good one, man. Yo, it's all good, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Don't be a stranger. Appreciate you, Anthony. You know that.
Hey, stop hanging around these fucking pussies, dude. Sorry, brother. You gotta put your face up if you don't want to be a pussy.
Come on.
But you can't do that, right?
We're not going there right now, man.
Hey, man.
It's probably
cam up, bro. Cam up, bro. It's cam up.
It's probably a chick. It's probably a chick.
Homosexual, man.
Yeah. Cam up, bro.
Probably a chick, man. She might be hot too.
We know what your feelings are about that. So, but
here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna get in your car and you're gonna get hit by a car right now. Okay?
No,
I'm gonna get in my car and get hit by a car.
Let's not wish ill will on
Indeed.
anyone.
I'm not wishing.
But I don't. But I don't own a car.
I know what I'm doing.
I don't own a car though.
Hey, Anthony.
Don't worry about it, bro.
With all due respect, Anthony, in California, I'd like to have a real conversation. If this you going to be hating on these guys, just let me know, man, and I'll back out. I'll go do something else. No, but if we can like move a positive direction, I'd like to do that.
Yeah, I was about to kind
of. You heard me self-made, right? You know what's going on.
Yeah, let's just cool it, man. Just cool it. Yeah.
I got no hate for you, man. You and I tease each other. It's all cool. Let's just move the conversation forward.
Yeah, let's move it forward.
Yeah. I kind of had some thoughts listening to both Michael and Blackskin there.
Thank you.
So Michael bringing up the stars being kind of like a map of kind of the schedule of moving through the religious seasons, and that's kind of the spiritual zeitgeist over different times a year based on what the stars will show you. And I know that when you look at the constellation, we speak in stories, we speak in proverbs as human beings. So you're going to create archetypes for the stars, like, oh, this is the hunter, this is the lion, this is the ram, or whatever. You're going to have all those archetypes that will be assigned to people. Now, if you combine that with the schedule thing that you bring up, you're probably going to have similar archetypes in behavior if they're born in similar zeitgeists, where the spirit just kind of a little bit of a role of nurture versus nature, since a lot of it's cyclical and changing in society. So there might be a small, tiny bit to grasp upon. But of course, I would agree that there isn't significant evidence to say that it's as predeterministic as some would think. So it's just kind of people need to think critically, how much can I really affect my outcomes, or how much is just shit being thrown in my face?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting. So what's really interesting when you think about the ancients, okay, if you start studying ancient culture, is how we're discovering a lot of things now that they knew thousands and thousands of years ago, right? And I was just talking to my kids about this morning, or last night, I think it was, on the flood, right? Like every culture has a myth, flood myth, every last one. And now some people say, hey, this is some sort of psychological thing from being born out of amniotic fluid or something like that. Or, feel me here, there was a great flood. Like everything got flooded. And that's why there's trilobites at the top of huge mountains, and it's not just merely upward thrust. And it's why we find entire skeletons of whales thousands of miles inland. That's why we find sand in the middle of the ocean, where there should be silt. Sand's made by rocks crashing against things. Silt is what you normally have at the bottom of the ocean. It's because the continents have moved around significantly, probably through some sort of cataclysmic event. And the ancient people seem to know this. They know these things, and it's written about in all their myths, whether it's the Manitos when you're dealing with the Navajo myth, or you're dealing with what I think is, and I believe, and I think I can demonstrate is true, is the event that happened as recorded by Moses in Genesis. But the stars, the fact that everything has a significance is, the pagans say that. Christians should too, though. The problem is we've allowed these naturalists to tell us that there's a break between the spiritual and natural world, and there's not. The cosmos is a spiritual and natural composite. It's like a blending of two things. Everything has spiritual value. And this is what people are slowly realizing. And the question is just how to interpret it and then apply it right.
Yeah, I mean,
that's pretty well said. Yeah,
I mean,
Tony,
like I said, when I've been kind of like looking into it over the past month and a half, and one of the first things I had said that, you know, it goes against the Bible, like astrology. Is really what I grew up basically being preached at. Like if you look into astrology, basically it's evil. You're going to hell. Also, the other part where, you know, it's a feminine thing. Now, I was looking into like different things on my signs and the different locations of the sun and the planets. And it's funny because it actually did. I mean, there was things I'll say in the past month that were perfectly in line with things going on in my life, which was kind of strange. I didn't expect that. That was not something I expected to see. And I don't think it was something that I manifested or wanted to see. It was actually there was things that were going on in my life that aligned with what I was reading. So it got me curious. I like what Schiff said. It's data is what it is. It's data. So I'm taking that data, looking at it and just kind of taking a step back and like, how does this apply to my life? Is it real? Is it not real? That's where I'm at right now.
What I like about this, Tony, why I see this as a good thing is I think people are starting to understand slowly but surely that there is some crazy spiritual connection between all things. Whether it's the stars, it's each other, the earth, whatever. I see that as a positive move towards really a Christian understanding, a Christian cosmology. But it's helpful for people to see. I think this is happening in the manosphere. The manosphere is starting to say, like, you know, just having sex and having game and all that. While that has some value to it in terms of the scheme of things, it's like a very small portion of one's life. You know, if you have sex for an hour every day, that's 7 hours a week, man. It's 168 hours in a week. You know, like, I mean, come on, grow up. There's so much more to life than that. That's a thing. And it's not a thing that doesn't matter. But I think people are starting to say, all right, what is everything about? And is there order to everything? And why it's a positive part of this discussion is us starting to agree that there's a hierarchy. And this is what you said, Blackskin, that I like. I like that you said hierarchy. I love that. And I believe that there's a hierarchy to the cosmos. And the cosmos is a Greek word. And when we say it, we usually associate it with merely kind of like the universe, like stars, black holes, nebulas, etc. But when the Greeks said it, they were talking about the structure of reality. That even behind the unseen things, there were order to things, order to spirits, order to everything. And I think as you live through this life, you see that's true. Like John Calvin, famous French theologian, probably one of the most impactful reformers in the 1600s, well, 1500s. There's this one time, and Calvin's what you call a cessationist, and that's what I am. So I don't think the spiritual gifts you see in the New Testament happen anymore. So, but Calvin walked outside and the wind was howling. It was just howling like a wolf. And he knew from the wind howling that they had lost a battle. He knew that there was a connection between this group of men fighting a battle in nature. And if you've been around long enough, you can't help but connect experiences to the natural realm. And that's because there really is not the spiritual realm, the natural realm interact. To be human is to be an amphibian. We live in the middle of two worlds. We live between the physical and the spiritual. We're a spiritual physical composite. And when we start talking about things like astrology, a lot of my Christian friends freak out. Now, I don't believe it the way that most people do. But for people that are fleeing the naturalistic evolutionary worldview that tries to boil everything down to time, matter, and chance, I see it as a positive move towards recognizing a spiritual reality that is evident in all of creation.
Well, I just have something to say on this. I'm sure Shift and I'm sure Michael, your wife, can vouch for this, but I didn't really think much of like spiritual things until I worked in the emergency department, where every day had a theme of terms of like what ailments people would come into. Like one day everyone's bellies were hurting, one day everyone had nausea, one day everyone's violent to the point.
Is that true, babe?
My
wife's shaking her head. She was a nurse. She says that's true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's like a pattern.
There's like a pattern. Like I had this happen multiple times, like more than I can hold on my finger, where there would be like one like rare condition where the doc would say that, oh, I haven't seen that since residency, and it would come in 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. That kind of weird stuff you can't explain. And it happened several times. There was a day where everyone was coming in for gunshot wounds in the back for trauma. And it was like a day, I guess, where everyone was violent because there was a fist fight going on in the waiting room. Unrelated things. They didn't interact with each other. Just violence everywhere. So it's kind of stuff that's hard to explain.
So yesterday I woke up and I thought, you know what? This guy talked to 6 months ago. I bet he's divorced and not going to church anymore. There's the thought that ran through my mind. So I called up my associate pastor. I said, hey, you got that dude's number? And he's like, yeah, because him and his wife came in here to visit. And then I text him, hey, man, how you doing? He's like, I've been better. He's like, I'm going to be honest with you. Me and my wife split up 2 months ago. And I was like, I'm sorry to hear that, man. You still in church? And he was like, no, I don't really feel like going to church anymore. Now, this is a guy I only met one time. And I have no clue why in the world he popped into my mind. No clue. But he popped in my mind, and I texted him, and it was exactly what I thought it was. Now, does that mean I have superpowers? No, it just means that the world's weird, and we're all connected, you know. And God made the world this way, and that's why I think everything's so self-evident. It's why I don't debate the existence of God. I refuse to. I know everyone knows He's real, and I call BS on everybody. And if they say, well, if they're not willing to, I'm not going to argue it. I don't even care. Like, you'll find out here very soon anyway that it's real and you knew it the whole time. But there's such an intense connection of all things in this life that it's impossible to reasonably deny it the longer you live.
Well, one of the first religions allegedly was supposed to be animism, right? Like where everything's speaking to you. God is speaking through you through the trees, the flowers. Everything is God is just, you know, constantly communicating with you. You're communing with God, you know. Animism, which became shamanism, which became the priesthood. And that's another thing too. I keep hearing people say astrology is feminine, which it does seem as though a lot of women are really into it more than men. But you got to think that logically, when it first came out, when those Babylonian priests and those Vedic astrologers in India and those Mesoamerican high priests in Cacao and Chichen Itza, those were men, you know. So I think studying the cosmos and how it relates here on Earth, you know. So yeah, man, it's like what you're saying, Michael. I agree with a lot what you're saying. But do you think though at one time this type of stuff was more
You got
accepted
really
in the
quiet.
church.
You got really quiet.
Hold on.
Yeah, something happened. Black Skin got really quiet.
Well, somebody was trying to call me. Sorry about that.
There you go. There you go. We can hear you now.
It's unpopular. Unpopular today. Somebody's trying to call me. No, Michael Foster or anyone on the panel. Do you think at one time in that in Christianity, be it the Catholic religion, that some of the behind closed doors people were using these metaphysical tools more, and something happened where they wanted to have a bridge between them and the regular folks and neophytes and stuff?
So probably the most devastating events to happen in the last several centuries is the Enlightenment. So there's some good things that came from the Enlightenment, but the Enlightenment also made man the interpreter of all reality, which is BS. And the Enlightenment really tried to make everything naturalistic. Ultimately, it was a step towards that. It was this deism. The same deism we see in like Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin. Then you move through the 1800s with Darwin and the Voyage of the Beagle and all that stuff, and then we have this society, this cosmos, this universe that is robotic, almost mechanical, right? Not organic, spiritual, and then in the creation of an intelligence of God. So Christians have really aligned themselves with a deistic evolutionary mindset. Now, I believe in certain aspects of evolution. I don't believe in all of it. And I'm happy to run people through the gauntlet if they want to be ran through the gauntlet. But I think Christians think of nature as one thing and spirit as another thing, and I don't. That's not how I think about things. I think of everything's connected. And I think once upon a time, there was people that used astrology to try to get to a power that wasn't ordained by God. So the way I have access through Jesus Christ and prayer and through the word of God to the very maker of the stars, right? And so whatever the stars can tell me, the maker of the stars can tell me too through his word. And so it's not that I can't deduce things from nature. I absolutely can. But whatever I'm going to deduce from nature is going to be read through the explicit statements of the maker of the stars as contained in scripture. And so that's how I think through a biblical mind, I believe God made all of this, and it's all interconnected. But you have to organize the hierarchy of interpretation, which is if there's something that requires us to make more decisions that's less explicit, we would want to interpret that through the explicit statements of the person who made it all. And that's what scripture is. And I think scripture gets reduced down to a lot of kind of moralism. Don't drink, don't dance, don't watch movies, whatever. Sort of legalism. And people don't understand just how vibrant and powerful the word of God is, and how things like astrology, as most people, like when people come alive through astrology, it's more like there's order to the universe. And I want to say, what if I show you there's even more order, and you can know it with certainty through the scripture, through the very voice of God contained in writing? That's my message. That's what I believe. That's what I say. And I don't know if that's helpful, but that's how I come at it.
Yeah.
Do you think then,
that's definitely one mode? Definitely.
Yeah. You were saying like more women are into astrology. Do you think women are searching that? I mean, is that then that's a good thing?
I think men, we as men want to accomplish what's in front of us. So the strength of a man, we want to get our projects done, and I think some women want to be taken care of, and astrology gives them the comfort that they're being taken care of, that there's order, there's protection. So I have chickens. I have 100 chickens. I have way more chickens than I ever wanted to have. Okay. And I'm about to kill 50 of them. My broilers, I'm butchering them on Saturday. I can't wait, and I am scared all at the same time. I'm sick of them, but it's going to be disgusting. I had to kill one the other day with an axe. Blood went everywhere. It was terrible. But they do say with layers, if you have a bunch of laying chickens that lay your eggs and they're acting all crazy, all you gotta do is put a rooster in it. You put the rooster in order. The rooster will tell them when to eat. The rooster will tell them when to run. He just brings order to the whole thing. And so I think women that don't have good dads, that aren't part of a masculine society where there's order and protection, I think women that are by themselves, single mothers, or they married themselves to nice guys, kind of beta males, I think those sort of women would be attracted to astrology because they're looking for order and protection. That doesn't make astrology in itself feminine, but it would explain why more women are looking for it. Most men find their place in a smaller hierarchy. You know, they work at the cell phone store and they sell, and they're thinking in terms of just climbing up to being the assistant manager or something, right? But I think guys that have a tendency to try to look at bigger worldviews, a bigger picture or whatever, astrology is a step, Lord willing, in their journey of looking for what makes sense, what brings order to the created realm, to the creation, to the physical world. So I don't think it's inherently feminine. I think what it does is it offers sense and order, and people come to it for a different reason. Women for one reason, and women are coming to it because we're in such a beta society. And men come to it because they're just like, there's more than just pure physicality and naturalism, and they're looking for it. So that's my thought. Again, this is on the fly. I didn't mean to.
I kind of want to go back to you talking about the naturalism versus the spiritualism. I would go back and say a lot of these people pre-Enlightenment, they were in touch with a lot of the naturalistic ideas, but still were spiritual. Like, for example, when I see a lot of old art works, I see a lot of hidden, it kind of looks like they're mapping out a brainstem, but they're doing it in an artistic way in a lot of areas. And another example would be, if you look at the sign of the cross that you see like Jesus putting up a lot when he has his wound, that's actually a symptom you get from median neuropathy, which is one of the nerves that you pierce when you're crucified is the median nerve. So that hand where the ring finger and the index and the pinky finger are down and the other ones are up, that's what happens when you get crucified. Just by fact, but medically, what happens when you get crucified? They even call it the hand of benediction in when you study it medically. So that stuff's
all I would say real quick to you without going, I don't want to dominate the stream. All I would say is that we do not want to be Gnostics. So Gnostics deny the importance and goodness of matter, of physical things. And neither do we want to be determinists, biological determinists that reduce men down to meat machines and say everything we do is merely impulse driven by evolution. You say that, anyone who wants to say that right here, I'll show you very quickly why that doesn't make a lick of sense if you want to have any morality. It all breaks down logically very quick. There is spirit, there is some sort of law and rule to all things, which I think is congruent with what's taught in Scripture. And there's a physical reality that matters and has order to it, and those things should not be opposed, right? I don't see faith, if we mean faith as in belief in the spiritual world, science as in the study of physical things, I don't see these things at odds. They work in concert when rightly understood. But when they're divided, chaos becomes. You'll find a lot of feminism in egalitarianism in Christian churches. Christian churches act like men and women are the same. It ought not be that way, right? And so you want to keep things together.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the point I was alluding to, where they had both they had it wasn't just all spiritual stuff. They had the reality before, probably more knowledge than we thought they had. If they're able to accurately kind of draw out a brainstem through, like, instead of having the different parts, they'll have like a person in a pose, and then the idea of having Jesus Christ in most of the paintings with the hand of benediction, which does happen to people. They get crucified. They physically can't lift their pinky and their ring fingers. So it makes me think, like, is there some historical significance there that
can I ask you a hard question?
Found? Yeah, you can ask me any question.
So gerbils eat their babies. Why can't I eat my babies?
I mean, you can, but like,
why shouldn't
sure you wouldn't want to.
Why should I not?
Morally?
Is it okay morally to eat my babies like gerbils eat their babies?
I mean, I can't answer that. I can't like give a definitive answer to that question.
So I'm about to eat my baby, and I say, Caduceus, I'm about to eat my baby.
I would tell you it's dumb.
I'd say, morally, is this right or wrong? I'm about to make this into a baby taco. What is your view? And you're gonna say
my instinct is no, but like thinking about it rationally, I think it would be dumb because you already invested a lot into that baby.
I'm very hungry. Maybe it's a famine. It's a famine. Why can't I eat my baby?
Morally. I mean, people have eaten their babies in famine.
Yeah, but that's a statement. That's an assertion. That's not a judgment of morality. Is it right or wrong to eat babies? Is what I'm asking you. Gerbils eat their babies.
I would say my instinct would say no. It's not. Okay. It's not right to. It's not right to eat babiys. That's my instinct.
First up, I applaud your instinct. Now I'll let you hold my baby at some point in the future. Okay.
I'm glad you were talking about eating the baby with the gerbil. You said gerbil, Michael Foster. I got nervous.
I'll get the pot running.
So here's my point. If we're all just evolved animals, and none of you guys act that way. If we're all just evolved animals, someone needs to explain to me why we can't eat babies and gerbils can't. Why it's morally despicable, wrong, cruel, and we would punish those people. If you were a cop, you would arrest them. If you were a judge, you'd send them to jail. And if you're an executioner, you'd push the button or pull the trigger. You absolutely would. And you have to be able to say, and this is part of the problem when we get into some of this naturalistic mindset, is that how do we come up with a workable grounds for morality? I believe non-Christians have a morality. I think morality is... I think it's part of nature. Like we know, you say your instinct. I say, yeah, God made you in his image. You know, I should not eat babies. I'm thankful for that. That's how society is able to not like break down into complete chaos. But it is a larger question. How do we attribute moral value to things that we deduce naturally?
I mean, if I remember correctly from Austin Powers, I think it was Fat Bastard who said, "I once ate a baby."
Oh yeah. He's like,
he did say that, yeah.
Baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back, baby
So
back.
How
Ribs.
are we different than Fat Bastard from Austin Powers? Is what I'm asking.
That's a good question.
I mean, in terms of the gerbil thing, what comes to mind is like, because my simple way of putting it is, I think a human being is somewhere in between an ape and an angel. Combined hybrid. There's something weird going on there, man. Like we aren't animals, you could say. However, we have something that makes us not to shit on animals. Something beyond that.
I would say that there's probably some like we were talking about spiritual connectiveness earlier, and I would say that there's something that connects us that makes us realize it's a detrimental decision to do. It's something because it is detrimental down. You're like pretty much saying screw the future. It's all about now.
So I once was at a taco place and I met this guy, and I told him he was the guy making my taco. It was like a habanero. It was like a chipotle called habaneros.
Okay.
And I asked what he was into. He said, "I like the vegetarian taco." And I was like, you know what? Just give me the fish taco, because fish are like the vegetables of the sea. And he's like, I think they're meat. And I was like, so are you into not eating meat? He says, not. And I was like, there's a girl, right? Because what guy gives up meat except for a girl? And he laughed and said there was a girl, because that's the only reason most men become vegetarians is for a chick. But
I know a guy that did it for God, he says.
Yeah, well.
Unless his God's a woman.
There's always an exception, right? Anyhow, we got talking, and I told him, I said, you know what? I believe that the Lord, God, has given the earth to us to take control of, to be stewards of. If I'm merely part of creation, like a lion, or take a warthog, a pig will totally destroy an ecosystem, right? And we don't charge that pig with being morally culpable for destroying an ecosystem. Why in the world am I responsible for the universe? Can't what? Well, you have to protect your young. Why? Says who? Says who?
Well,
Like,
what makes me think that this whole like the vegetarian side, the vegan side, it being like them lying to themselves, is that if they really could just avoid eating animals, why do they have to like try to fake it so hard? Like they have to make all this fake meat with all
they
these
want it,
with
man.
like
They want it so
50
bad.
ingredients, like that's of all these chemicals just to fake it. Like,
Well,
wouldn't it be better just to eat a slab of meat?
Yeah,
at
it
that
tastes
point?
just like bacon. So that would tell me that, I've seen the vegan videos on that. Oh, it tastes just like bacon. Then why wouldn't you just eat bacon? Why do you have a taste for bacon? Why do you have a taste for meat? Because it's natural. It's normal.
I'll stop eating animals when they stop eating each other.
Do you not eat certain animals? Because if you look at Leviticus, Deuteronomy, there's a strict dietary code there.
So in Leviticus 15 or 11-ish or so, those are the holiness commands. So if you look at all those animals, those are animals associated with death. So one of the main concerns in the Levitical system is nothing like death is brought into the temple. So a woman on her period is not allowed to be in the temple, in part because she's bleeding out. So she's losing, she's dying, like metaphorically. And so you look at like a lot of the crustaceans, right? They're bottom feeders, pigs, whatever these things are eating. So these things are all symbology connected to death. And death is like a guy that's missing an eye can't be a priest because he's not whole. That represents death. When you go inside of the tabernacle or temple, there's a bunch of, more or less, it's a picture of the Garden of Eden. So the world that once was, it's a microcosmos that's cleansed by the blood of Jesus, where a world before there was death and corruption. So the reason you can't eat those animals in the Old Testament is to set aside the Jewish people, the Old Testament church, as people that are defined by life, everlasting life, and not by eternal torment and death. Then in the New Testament, through Christ, he says you're allowed to eat these things because now the symbol is eating the Lord's Supper and being baptized, not this food. And so I do partake of it. I'm ethnically Jewish, but I do eat bacon and stuff now because Christ said rise up and eat. But I don't think it was stupid in the Old Testament to do that. I think it was a very important sign pointing towards what the purpose of the gospel, the good news is, which is to reverse a world of death and decay and to bring to it wholeness and life again through Jesus Christ and his spilled blood.
So the gospels in this, what you're sharing, trumps the Old Testament? Is that what you're trying to say?
Trump. It's more like the Old Testament is a signpost they're pointing towards, and it fulfills. So it doesn't abolish it. It just finds its fulfillment. Just like Jesus is a fulfillment of all the, Jesus says that the blood of bulls and goats could never forgive man. So it's through the blood of a perfect man that God could be reconciled. So all these things, it's not that you're abolishing it or rejecting it, but it finds fulfillment. So it's a foreshadowing. So you put your hand up against the wall, there's a shadow that you see on the wall, and then there's the hand. So what I'm saying is that Christ is the substance of the shadow.
Okay.
Which is Colossians. Colossians literally says that word for word.
Well, you mentioned you were Jewish, so like, what do you think about the? Sorry to make this Michael Foster. I finally got to meet him. I've always heard good things about you, so that's the one to ask one more question. In terms of the Judaic Kabbalah, what's your thoughts on that? Because I heard you mention before how we're living in between two worlds, and I thought about the Kabbalah when you were saying that.
So I think I think we all live in a time that's retarded, where people are denying the spiritual reality of it. And so someone asked me, can fault. I think it was Tony asking the hard questions a couple weeks ago. You know, Tony always pretends to be Mr. Nice Guy, and then he throws out some sort of like nuclear bomb question. You know, he knows. He was asking me more or less if I thought other religions were true, and there's only one. And so, and what I said then is what I would say now is that I do think, let's say you're an alcoholic pagan that beats his wife, and you join the Mormon church and say, you got to stop drinking, got to stop beating your wife. Does that make you a better person? Well, at one level, absolutely it does. At another level, I think what they believe about reality and who Jesus is false and not true at all. And it doesn't make you good in that sense. But can it get rid of some bad practices, bad ideas at some level? I don't know how we say that's not true. We like if we've had friends that have sobered up and cleaned up because of Jehovah's Witnesses or astrology or this thing or that thing, we all know that these things can have some sort of at least short-term positive impact. So I would be willing to say that with Kabbalah. I'm like, look, this stuff is saying there's an order, there's a spiritual nature. You know, when you grow up being taught that everything's naturalistic and basically the whole of the universe is kind of a mechanism, right? Like a machine that starts to correct aspects of your thinking, right? I would say that it's still false, but let's put it this way. Let's say what we're taught in public schools is 1 + 12 = 2. Okay. But Kabbalah is like 1 + 5 = 2. Right? It's still not right, but we're getting closer. We're getting closer.
Still simplified.
Yeah, we're moving in a direction where like, well, at least they're talking about the spiritual realm. At least they're talking about there's consequences to this thing. And I think Christians have a hard time because they don't, you know, my journey into Christianity was a weird one. I mean, I converted overnight, but there's probably 2 years of wrestling with a lot of ideas prior to that conversion. And I've seen a lot of people convert to Christianity through some very strange channels. And that's why I like hopping on the Tony's. This is like why I come to Tony's stream, honestly. Come to Tony's stream because there's real guys with real questions, real thoughts, trying to work things out. And that's who I was and who I still am. And I respect that. So I'm not a Kabbalist, but I think some of the things they say are true. And it's probably closer to the truth than evolutionary naturalism.
Thanks for sharing that, Michael.
Yeah, I love you guys. You guys are great. Thank you so much for letting me be part of the conversation.
Oh yeah, always, man.
We love you
always,
too, man.
You're awesome.
Especially good, man. We've been going deep.
Yeah.
Why we do things, what connects us, what kind of values we all have. This is the kind of conversations I like.
There's one thing about Foster though. He never bends. He never bends. I mean, I was a little bit shocked on the response to astrology. I didn't expect that, but I see where he's coming from. I think it's from what I gather from what he's talking, it's people searching and they're looking. In other words, people who weren't spiritual maybe find spiritual through astrology or another religion. But I think what Michael Foster is saying is his hope, his wish is that it leads it to Christianity. I mean, that's really
what I like about Michael is like we could have a difference of opinion because when I talk to some, you know, one of my best friends are Christians, but they treat me like brothers, and others are like, oh, you're gonna go burn in hell, you know, immediately, without even giving me a second chance to talk.
Yeah.
And those are the type of people I flip out on them. You know, it's just like fuck off, you know. But
so those people are crazy, man, because people really die.
Yeah.
You know, like my little brother died 2 weeks ago, and I'm still kind of in the middle of that emotionally. And
sorry to hear that.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah. Sorry for your loss.
I appreciate it. He died he just did drugs too many times, you know. And I think so. We're such a soft people, you know. I think all these people need to see some dead bodies. I think they need to go see the horror of death.
Based.
The Yugoslavia war, man. That's what I went through.
Based.
Yeah.
They would not be so It would not be so cavalier. Like these are, I don't wish death on anyone. You know, I want everyone I know to know Jesus, and I'm going to plead with them to the very end. And I know this much: spitting in someone's face rarely leads to conversion. That's not been my experience. You know, I think like you can't. You want to talk about what you can't control? I cannot make you guys change your minds, and I'm not going to try to. I'm going to tell you why I believe what I believe, how I got there. I'm going to pray for you, and at the end of the day, you know, it's your decision before the Lord, and whether God's moving in your heart or not. And I just have to leave it with God. And I think what happens with a lot of our Christian friends is that when they're dealing with people that aren't Christians, they do love them, and they're tempted to manipulate and twist them, try to force them into the faith, and it does the opposite, right? It does the opposite. Anytime someone leans on you and tries to force you into doing something, your inclination's not to do it. You know, like that's my inclination. You try to make me do something, right away I don't want to do it, even if it makes sense. You know, and so I just say, like, I think the people that are even guilting you and manipulating you, it's from a twisted place, but it is also from a place of, I think concern. But we just have to learn that, you know what, we lay the truth out there, and the people do what they do with it, and we can't control people. We just gotta let it. We gotta go to sleep. We gotta let go. We got things to do.
That way is actually a lot more attractive than someone forcing you to do something. So if someone's ready to go that way that you're sharing, it's like that way is a lot more conducive.
Depends on what they're offering.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying if that's what they want, this hands-off stuff, it's a lot better, in my opinion.
I was saying on the one stream with Foster a few weeks ago that, you know, it's like, I call it hyper Christianity is annoying, and a newly converted Christian is even more annoying.
A zealot.
They just won't let up. They instantly become holier than you, and
they're flexing on you.
Every problem is solved by just saying, you're not a Christian. You don't have peace. You don't have this. But I think, how can as a Christian guy, I mean, I'm a Christian guy, but how can you reach people unless you can talk to them in a normal setting, in a normal fashion, and not just talk to them, but listen to them? I think that's the biggest thing, because
I was going to interrupt you and say the listening was more important than the talking.
Yeah,
like I enjoy hearing people's experiences and learning, you know, and I'm not religious, but I do respect people's opinions, and also, like, I don't know everything, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with with my choices and my consequences, and I enjoy these conversations. I really do. Very mature, no name calling, no stupid like conversations. It's just really deep conversations.
Yeah, shift you goopball.
Yeah, we got 2 ears and a mouth for a reason. Hey Tony, I gotta hop off, man. I gotta get to this triathlon.
Okay, cool.
All right, thank you for having me, and nice to meet you, Michael, and Uncle Guns. Love you, and Shift and Caduceus. Hope to see you guys again.
Thanks for how many miles do you do a week, Botskin?
This is a small one, so I only usually do like 10 miles a week. This is like a mini one I'm doing with my son. So he's 4 years old.
How old?
He's 4, and they have cause I live out here in Taiwan, and they have this triathlon circuit for like little kids and stuff. So we just started to get into it. So I'm gonna see what happens.
How many miles? Triathlon is how many miles the running part?
Oh, for this one, it's only I think it's like 2.5 kilometers. It's for like the lowest base level. Yeah, and then we have the swim. The swim is I think the swim is like 3,000 meters. No, not 3,000. 2,000 meters.
Nice. That's awesome for a 4-year-old.
Not too bad.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
God bless you, man. God bless you and your son, man. Cool.
Thank you, too. God bless you and yours, Michael. And everyone, take care. Thanks, Tony.
Take care, my friend.
Later, bro.
Take care.
Okay. All right, guys. Love you guys.
care.
Love you too.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he lives in Taiwan, Michael Foster. Yep.
Dude, Taiwan is not a safe place to live right now. So
Yeah, it's like with China, you know, because they have all the semiconducting chips, and everybody wants their butt. You know, Taiwan is in a bad spot. You know.
So one of my minors is Mandarin Chinese. I took 2 years of Chinese at NKU, and my main professor hated Taiwan with because basically Shanghai Shek, he came across, he fled to Taiwan during the when he fled China, and they just hate that country, dude. And he was always like, why do you think Taiwan's a country? And I said, well, because America has nuclear weapons, and we say it is. That's what I would always say.
Yeah, and it's also very, very important too, because they have TSM, and TSM, they make those computer chips, right, that we all need, and also very big companies like AMD, Nvidia, you know, they use those chips. Very, very important in everyday life, and that's why China finds it so valuable, you know, and America finds it so valuable. If you lose that position, then you could be obsolete technology-wise, you know. So it's
yeah. Like it affects every level. Like I went to a baseball game, and when I was parking, going into the gate, they had, like, you know, the booths where like you check in and say hello. Normally you can pay with cash in each one. They had to funnel like 2 into 1 lane for paying with card because they didn't have enough devices due to the shortage of chips. So they had to say, like, hey, we would get more of these so we can have one in every booth, but there's a shortage of chips, so it's too expensive right now. So then you had to pay in card up to someone with the machine like 30 feet ahead of you.
Such a small place, it's so valuable when you think about it.
There's these spots. It's like Palestine, Taiwan, Kashmir. You know, Kashmir between Pakistan and India. You know, they're all super complicated, right? Like anytime you get into these issues, you're like, oh yeah, China's terrible, and then you get into Shanghai Shek, and you're like, oh, that dude's not good either, is he? And then you get into like Palestine, and you're like, the Palestinians aren't Muslims; they're mostly Christians, and the Jews have been doing terrible things to them for decades. Right? Like people don't understand that the Palestinians are the majority of them are Christians persecuted by the Jews. You know, well, I shouldn't say Jews. I should say the Israelites. If I'm going to be honest. You get into all these issues; they're way more complicated than our political talking heads want to make them. You know?
Yeah, it's very complex, and it's just unless you're into that politics and stuff. But even then, it's just like, man, I'm just completely disgusted. You know, is that we have all this potential as humanity to really evolve, but we choose to be in these primitive like wars and behaviors. It's really disgusting. You know.
I mean, like World War II. After World War II, we basically divided up things that made not a lick of sense. The greatest example is when you take the Kurds, the Persians, and the Muslims and put them all in one country in Iraq. That's insane. Without physical land borders, with just sand. And so you've got Iraq next to Iran with the Kurds in northern Iraq. That's bonkers, man. And we really are dealing with, so I've been going over World War II with my children, trying to explain what the different motivations were of the different players. Like people like Russia changed sides like 3 times. Yeah. And frankly, when you look at why they changed their sides, you're like, nah, you know, if I was in their situation, I probably would have done that too, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take it to an even more local level. Yeah. Look at how your city is designed. How you have different areas cut off by how the highways are designed, how certain strip malls are placed in areas where you could have more. Your city is cut into pieces that have their own little pockets that are usually inhabited by one ethnic group or one racial group, and it's by design to divide people.
Yeah, I don't doubt that's true. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these things. So what I've learned is liberals are really smart and really stupid at the same time. And conservatives are not good at building things. They suck at it. I call them grill Americans. I picked that up from a blogger I read. They're grill Americans because all they want to do is be on their back porch and grill, right? And so they're not involved in the political process, and that's why they get their butts kicked. But liberals are at council meetings, they're running for office, they're involved. They're involved in pushing out all this stuff. And a huge part of our problem right now is that conservatives are disengaged, whereas city planners, who are almost always liberal, are trying to build a world charged with their values, right? And we should be doing the same thing. We shouldn't say, oh, no, there should be no values. We should say, no, they should be good values, and we should be involved in them.
Yeah. Well, I just want to, the funny thing about it though, is that if you look at like the statistics on what cities are more segregated than others in terms by race or by ethnic group, it's usually the northern cities, because like the reality of it, like back in the Civil War days, before that time, both the South and the North were just, or pre-civil rights movement, both the North and the South were just as, they had similar views on like racism wise. It's just the South, they had it written in their laws to split people up, while the North designed their cities to separate people. So that's why you see the most segregated cities are probably Milwaukee, Chicago, where if you go to a place like Savannah, Georgia, it's pretty integrated just by the city design.
Yep. That's my experience down in Greenville, South Carolina. I had 2 black neighbors to the left and right of me, across from me, a bunch of Asians. It was super integrated. It was not divided at all.
I want to welcome Goss, and of course, Uncle Gun's been awful quiet tonight.
I'm listening to Foster, man. It's a real treat when we get Foster, man.
It is. It's hard not to listen, isn't it?
Just listen and shut up. That's it.
You soak it in. I mean, the man's got some knowledge going deep.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add on. Hey, what's up, Tony?
Yeah, good to have you here, man.
Yeah, I'm always late to the party. I always have some shit going on. I just saw the title and I was like, oh, that's interesting. The whole thing about acceptance. But I just wanted to add to something that Caduceus was saying about how things are drawn ethnically, because that same thing happened in South Florida in Overtown. Overtown was one of the few black areas that was really developing economically, and things were going on the up and up in that area. And then the politicians, they just put I-95 straight through Overtown and fucked it up. Now Overtown is poor, and it just killed all the development in Overtown, and it's high crime and poor and all this other stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you see that everywhere, even small town, small cities that I live in around here. It's the same thing. I mean, they are putting certain people by race and ethnicity live in certain areas.
Yeah, well, I definitely suggest people check it out, but go across, there's like freeways and highways that cut through the town. Look at the community on one side of the freeway or highway, and then look on the community on the other side. They're two different worlds.
Well, that's where we get the term other side of the tracks.
I was about to say, you see it with train tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another way to cut off communities, they're walls.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I grew up with that. Like, don't go on that side of the tracks. That's what I grew up with, so. But gosh, you have any, or Uncle Guns, you have any comments, but either of you guys on, because I'm going to wrap it up soon. I got to work early, but accepting things you can't control. And like I said, I changed it because normally when you hear that again, it says accepting things you can't change. I like to say that accepting things that you can't control, because I do think that we can change more than we think we can. And I think when people say that, like I said in the beginning, that the actual phrase accepting things you can't change, I don't think it's a cope, but I think people use it as a cope. Okay, to say, well, I got to accept that I can't change it, just like being fat or all sorts of things, like whether it be your thoughts. Oh, I can't change that, but you can change that. And that's why I wanted to know about things that you can't control, because there's a lot of things you can change, but there aren't a lot of things I think that you can control. So you
Absolutely.
have to accept them. So, but guns, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, when I think about acceptance, I think of it as in like a more senior idea. It's one of the most powerful things you can do, actually. If you think about when I think about acceptance, I think about Albert Ellis. He was a psychologist. He's a grandfather of CBT, actually. And in the last 10 years of his life, he really harped on this concept of acceptance. And so the way he viewed negative emotion, and my life has borne this out as well, is that the opposite of depression or like say anxiety, the opposite of anxiety isn't happiness. The opposite of anxiety is concern. So negative emotions has its own spectrum, and on the one side you have disturbance. There's a distinction between emotions that are negative and unhealthy, like anxiety, depression, anger, and also negative emotions that are healthy, like concern, regret, remorse, sadness, things like that. And so the what he was saying is to have it would be really useful to cultivate a philosophy of life that was built around acceptance, and it will take people who are disturbed and make them not happy but undisturbed, right? And so he emphasizes three forms of acceptance: the acceptance of yourself, the acceptance of other people, and the acceptance of life itself. And if you really understand acceptance on that level, I think you'd be a pretty healthy person. And again, accepting life, it doesn't mean that you tolerate your BS. What it means is that you or accepting other people. It means you accept their humanity and their personhood. You have to accept their behavior. And
yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So it's really powerful.
Yeah, that's pretty profound right there. Yeah, it's like perception is everything,
Yeah, I like what you said too, with the opposite of like sadness, and I just like the way that was put. I really do, because I didn't think of those things when you said that. I wouldn't have thought of those, But when you said like regret and remorse, I'm like, wow, that's pretty deep, man. That's not always a bad thing. But I think those negative, like you said, those negative emotions can be a positive thing. I guess people would interpret them as negative emotions. Where if you didn't feel those, you basically feel nothing.
What does he say about fear?
Albert Ellis?
Yeah.
All right, so he's a very interesting guy because he almost gets no credit for his contributions to modern psychology. So he distinguishes anxiety from concern. So like he says you want to move from negative, unhealthy, but all right. So like the backbone of his philosophy comes from Epictetus, which says that it's not the things that disturb you, but your view of the things that disturb you. So
Epicurus, you mean, right? Epicurus, is that the Greek philosopher?
Epictetus.
Oh, Epictetus. Okay.
More stoic.
Epictetus. Yeah. And so basically he had a whole. He actually used a scientific method. So he says, A being the antecedent, something happens. So say for example, I don't know, say you're going for the elevator and like the person closes the elevator door when he sees you coming, right? So most people think that would be the antecedent, and then you would go from A to C, which is the emotional consequence, which would be anger for most people, right? But what happened is that there's an intervening B, your belief system, your evaluation of what happens that really generates your emotion. So what he said is you can dispute your B's and create a new philosophy I mean, I'm really trying to summarize what he had to say.
That's
a much larger thing.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like his work, and I like the work of other people as well. But
yeah, it's like you could take like all these people that did something before, and you can make your own version of your own philosophy, your own truth. I think there's value in it.
Just yes. Guys work to dive into.
I mean, philosophy is the search for truth and wisdom.
Absolutely.
Philosophy is. That's the definition of philosophy.
Just a pile of notes you can compare your life to right there.
Speaking of philosophers, Stefan Nolan, if you're watching, you're supposed to come on a few months ago. So
any day now, man. Any day.
Oh, man. I haven't even thought about that guy in like years.
Yeah.
Be huge if he comes. That'll be awesome.
Well, he said he was. I know he got busy and he had some stuff to do, and he's actually streaming on D Live, so he's active again. So maybe he'll jump on soon. I'll reach out.
Get a little promo for him.
Yeah, that'd be quite an interesting conversation. I've listened to conversations with Stefan and Jordan Peterson, Stefan and Jesse Lee Peterson, and those are conversations that just kind of blow your mind. And Stefan is more of a open thinker than people think. I know, everybody thinks he's a white supremacist. Well, if you go to Wikipedia, of course, that's just an absolute mess there. I don't recommend anybody go to Wikipedia for anything. I think it was somebody on here even told me, I think recently, right, that the guy who wrote Wikipedia said don't believe anything on there. Who started?
Yeah, Wikipedia is not the source for information. Like, you take it with a grain of salt, man.
Yeah. I think one of the co-founders of Wikipedia said that it's been like hijacked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the whole idea is that anyone can edit it at any time.
Mm-hmm. So, but anyways, that's so guns. Any? I'm going to start with you. We're going to start wrapping up. Any
guns? What I said earlier before the show started, my philosophy is control and change everything you can until you get skilled to the point where you have absolute command over it. Control and change every single thing that you can until you have absolute command over it. Where I'm the guns. I came from the universe of guns, from the planet of guns, and I'm my own person, and anything that comes within that has to go through through a vetting, has to go through barriers. I control everything in my universe. I control the tides, the setting of the sun. I control everything. But it all depends on mindset.
You got anything to say about guns controlling the universe, Michael Foster?
No, my universe, not the universe.
I'm joking. I understand.
Guns is taking over one city at a time.
And I'm bringing hellfire.
But we're going to start wrapping up. So anything else, Guns?
No. Great show.
Thanks, man. I know it always kind of veers off, but it's funny because every time I pick up a topic that, I'll be thinking about something. I'm like, all right, well, this is kind of a thought I'm having, and kind of my thoughts on the universe, whether, a simple thought was, again, I always hear accepting things you can't change, but I like to change it. I'd like to change it up to accepting things that you can't control. And I think that's important. I think those are two completely different things. So, but I'll go to Goss next, man. Any final words, bro?
Well, it's considered I came so late to the party. So probably not. I said about the stuff about accepting the world and life itself. Mm-hmm. Is pretty much what I think. It's really worked out for me. As far as philosophy, when I was really into philosophy when I was a little kid, up till about age 12, and then I found science, and then fell in love with science, and then kind of looked down on philosophy, the philosophy majors when I was in university. But as I've gotten older, and I just really, try to think about it. Philosophy for me personally helps me understand what I already know better, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And philosophy for me is not just like a intellectual or cognitive thing. It's also an emotional thing and a behavioral thing as well. So it's almost like a warrior of the mind, so to speak.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Caduceus, Vital Message.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. We had a lot of deep discussion, bounced ideas off each other. Definitely gained something out of here about the main topic about accepting things that you can't control. I think that there's just a lot of things I can't control. I can't control the outcomes of every little thing, but taking the accountability and reflecting upon how I contributed to that outcome really empowers me to be able to work towards what I want to build to. So if I get into a hole, I know I can get out. I can adapt to any situation thrown at me, which is kind of, I think, is the beauty of taking accountability, even if there is little to no control on my end.
Mm-hmm. Well said again, man. Appreciate you. And we'll go to Michael Foster next.
Repent and believe the gospel.
I knew that was coming.
I think I'm glad there's a lot of searchers on here thinking about things, and I would say you've probably been to some gay Christian churches in your time, and I don't blame you for not wanting to be part of that, but I would say read the Gospels anew, man. Read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Read the Bible. Think about it. If you want to interact with me, find me on Twitter. Hit me up. My DM's open on Twitter. I'll send you books that I think are really intriguing and a good read and won't be a waste of your time. And I think you can make real decisions, and you're going to be held responsible for those decisions at the end of the age. So you should take it seriously. And if there's anything I can do to be helpful, I am here for you and will do whatever I can.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Appreciate you. You know that.
Yep.
Yeah, always a pleasure having you on here, man. You always, I like to say, hijack the stream in such a good way.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, there's nothing to be sorry for, because everybody, when you're one man, when you speak, people listen, and that's a real gift that you have.
Well, thank you.
And I get revved up when you're on here. I really do.
It's a privilege to be on here with you guys.
I just know it's going to be. It always goes to the next level when you come on. So I appreciate that, and I'm not downplaying anybody else who's on the panel.
No, these men make it happen. I wouldn't come here if it wasn't for these guys. Yeah. No, it's a good forum of honest men trying to just lay it out there, and that's what I like. I respect people that are honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool, and that's what I promote here is honesty, authenticity. It's so important as men to do that. For us to, like, a lot of these guys that come on these streams, some of the things they say, I don't want to say shock me, but I'm glad they say them. I want people to be open and honest. And I know it's tough on a public forum sometimes to do that, but to me, that's the quality of a good man that can say his piece, and we can disagree on things, but everybody has a path that they're going to choose, and I see, you're guiding people to, I don't think there's anything negative about what Mike Foster has to say, nothing. And he's guiding people to the right way. He's guiding men to the right way. He's guiding women to the right way. So I think he's a role model for men and women. And man, we need more people like that. So yeah, appreciate you. And then let's go to my co-host again for tonight was Shift.
Yeah, the great panel, great discussion. And for me, like, you could, some things you can't control, but you could always change your perception. I view my mind like an operating system that needs constant software updates. So, and I try to, and I make sure I try to be around people that enhance me or I learn something from them, and then we have a win-win relationship. And that's what I try to do. Network, win-win relationships, all that. Be around people that are positive. Try to make this world a better place before you die. That type of thing. I've been through Yugoslav war and all that. I've seen, people don't want that, and we should do our damn hardest not to be in any type of war situation, but it is what it is. Sometimes you just have to accept we humans are capable of very positive things and also some very cruel things, and we have to accept that. So
yeah, I appreciate everybody, of course, and again, tonight's topic, you think of that term, accepting things you can't change. Tonight was accepting things you can't control, because in my opinion, again, accepting things you can't change is kind of a cope. People use it as a cope. I think it's a positive saying, but I think it's been turned into a coping mechanism to make it easier on yourself. So I think a better term is accepting things you can't control, and look at the things that you can't control, and sometimes you do have to accept them. You move on, you learn from it, and just become better. That's all I can say. So, but I appreciate everybody in the chat, man. The chat's been lit tonight. I've got all sorts of links to everybody's channels in the description of the video. All my friends are down there, from Caduceus to Shift to Michael Foster to who else is in there? And pretty much everybody. I've got Wisdom Radio in there, Smash TV. There's links to, I think, Dr. Shawn Smith, Pat Stedman. But all my friends are down in there, so check them out. They're all in the description of the video. And, tell everybody I sent you and say hi. So, but appreciate everybody. We're going to end it, and have a good night. Take care. We'll see you next Thursday on Reality Check. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks, Tony.